President Biden vowed to work hard to secure the Hispanic vote, pledging to enact policies that will directly impact them. Take a listen.
To make sure we're giving Hispanic Americans the support and respect they deserve and need at all times, we have to change our attitudes. That's why I've laid out extensive plans that demonstrate how we're going to use every tool at our disposal to take on the inequities that hurt Hispanic communities.
Now, analysts say Democrats need to do even more if they want to win the 2024 election. The Cook Political Report highlights a study that analyzes Latino voter trends in key battleground states. Amy Walter writes, quote, "It paints a worrisome picture for Democrats who may be hoping that increased Latino turnout in 2024 will cement their gains in key battleground states. For years, the working assumption among many campaign professionals was that Latino voters stayed home in midterm elections but showed up in presidential elections. As such, a district or county with a significant Latino population would perform much better for Democrats in a presidential year than a midterm. But Republican candidates can make significant inroads with these voters, especially if they put a full court persuasion press on them, while Democrats only engage these voters at the very end of the campaign." Joining us now, Communications Director of the Libre Initiative, a national advocacy group for Latino Americans, Wadi Gaitan. Thank you so much for being on. So, what is the state of Latino support for Democrats? Are Democrats losing Latino voters?
Yes, they definitely are. I mean, the reality is I think many Democrats thought that voting demographic was baked in their favor. And what we're seeing is actually that more Latinos are actually identifying as independent, as swing voters. They're really willing to hear from both parties. It's important for Democrats to understand that this is a loss in the sense that before they could sort of count at these voters and these universities as sort of a get out the vote demographic, that towards the end of the election, they could just make that call and they would show up. But the reality is that is not the case. They're going to have to court the vote and they're going to have to work hard for it.
So sort of give me a snapshot of the mindset here of the Latino voters who are deciding that they're going to be independents or may not vote Democrat. In that mindset, what are the issues that are drawing them away from the Democratic Party?
Yeah, I would say it's a couple of issues. But one thing, when you talk to Latinos across the country, when you look at the polls, one of the biggest things is the economy. Inflation specifically has created a barrier towards the American dreams for Latinos. The American dream is more expensive for them. So they want to hear what are the policies, what has the president done, and what is he going to promise to actually do when it comes to the topic of the economy. A lot of the polls also show that in general, Latinos view their trust towards Democrats as being the party that can actually deliver on the economy, that can deliver on issues like crime and like public safety, is lower than the trust that they have for Democrats. That doesn't mean that Republicans don't have barriers on their end, but these are also the barriers that Democrats are facing when it comes to courting that issue. Also, when it comes to immigration, Democrats have made the right promises, but have not been able to deliver on those promises for various reasons. But Latinos now view this topic as not necessarily the party that is going to be able to deliver. So they're not just looking for the promises, they're looking for results on the topic of immigration.
So, Wadi, obviously the Latino vote, not monolithic, different people, whether they're country of origin or where they live in the United States, changes their viewpoints. But let's just focus on one state in particular real quick. It's Florida, which has trended away from Democrats in recent cycles. This idea that the anti-socialism argument that Republicans are putting forth has been successful. Do you see anything that could push Florida back towards the blue column, or do you think it's pretty safely red right now?
I think it's safely red, but Republicans have made a lot of work in that area. So if Democrats genuinely want to win over Hispanics across Florida, they're going to have a strategic, targeted approach. Right now, you're talking about that there's the distinct backgrounds, right? Orlando specifically, the amount of Puerto Ricans who have moved there in the last 4 to 5 years from the island, even individuals from areas from New York who have moved to Orlando, have to understand that this demographic is completely different than the Cuban population, Venezuelan and Colombian, in Miami. Also, in areas of South Florida, there is a growing Mexican population in the areas like Homestead. So not only is it coming to these groups, showing up early, but it's making the specific case of why these different groups should vote for them. Something that Democrats really have to do is go beyond, again, that traditional 4-year voter that only votes in presidential races. There's approximately 1 million Latinos who are turning 18 every year. That's projected to be for the next 15 years. These are U.S.-born Latinos. These are people who can register to vote. The case has to be made to them early on why. These folks aren't necessarily registering, again, as Democrat or Republican. Their party affiliation isn't their identity. They're going as independent. The case has to be made. And Florida is very unique because Republicans have made a lot of headway, and they've had the results to show for it.
The Libre Initiative's Wady Gaitan, thank you very much for being on the show this morning.